Have you ever stood frozen, watching your little child scream on the floor just because of a smartphone? The blue light reflecting on their tear-stained face feels like a mockery of parental helplessness. That heartbreaking cry and those desperate struggles can break the patience of absolutely anyone. We often rush to label our children as stubborn, difficult, or worse, completely spoiled. They clutch the tablet tightly, as if it were their only life preserver in a vast, empty ocean. In our anger, we hastily judge our children's reactions as pure defiance and absolute misbehavior. You snatch the phone away, and instantly a terrifying storm of fury erupts right before your eyes. The child falls to the rug, flailing their arms and legs wildly, until their voice goes hoarse. Those horrifying moments make any parent's heart ache with profound exhaustion and deep frustration. A heavy atmosphere of deadlock envelops the family every time screen time officially comes to an end. Many parents feel utterly powerless when every gentle attempt to soothe is met with fierce opposition. You might ask yourself where you went wrong, raising a child who became so dependent on machines. The fear of raising a head-bowed generation staring at screens is vividly present in your own living room. The truth is, this battle for the phone happens every single day in millions of families worldwide. But have you ever taken a step back to ask, what is truly happening inside that fragile, developing mind? That small screen actually harbors a terrifyingly magical power over their rapidly growing brains. It opens up a dazzling world with vibrant colors moving endlessly and flawlessly to an absurd degree. Cheerful sounds and sparkling images constantly overstimulate the child's raw and highly sensitive senses. Every gentle tap on the glass screen delivers an immediate, effortless reward that requires zero struggle. That virtual world never says no, never judges, and is always perfectly ready to indulge their every whim. It becomes a flawless companion, a dedicated, tireless babysitter who never gets exhausted or annoyed. We simply hand our children phones in exchange for 15 rare minutes of peace during a chaotic day. Meals suddenly become so much easier when the child's eyes are glued to funny, colorful, animated videos. All noisy troubles are neatly solved with just one familiar swipe to unlock the glowing screen. But that obedient silence is actually an invisible trap, slowly tightening around their precious childhood. The phone has unintentionally become a massive wall separating the vibrant real world from your child's world. From a neuroscientific perspective, what is happening in the child's brain right now is truly alarming. Every single short video they swipe through triggers a massive, rapid release of dopamine in their brain. This powerful happiness chemical brings an intense sensation of euphoria that is incredibly short-lived and empty. Young children absolutely do not have a fully developed nervous system to handle this massive amount of stimulation. They quickly fall into an endless loop, constantly craving new and much stronger doses of dopamine. The more they watch, the higher their satisfaction threshold rises, making them numb to ordinary joys. When you abruptly take the phone away, the child's brain is completely cut off from its joy supply. That feeling of extreme withdrawal is exactly identical to painful addiction withdrawal symptoms in adults. The child isn't crying because they are inherently bad. They cry because their brain is sending panic signals. Fierce irritability and defiance are just natural physiological responses to the sudden drop in neurochemicals. The child is surrounded by chaotic emotions that they themselves cannot possibly understand or control. We are literally punishing our children for a powerful biological mechanism that we ourselves inadvertently triggered. You are angry because they lack discipline, but in reality, they are going through a true physiological crisis. Looking only at the surface of the crying will keep parents forever trapped in a vicious cycle of scolding. Technology is designed by genius minds with the sole purpose of keeping users engaged as long as possible. How can a 3-year-old child have enough willpower to resist those sophisticated billion-dollar algorithms? They are completely defenseless against the relentless assault of eye-catching images and addictive sounds. Electronic device addiction does not reflect the child's personality. It only reflects nervous system trauma. The deeper a child sinks into the virtual world, the more their real-life communication and emotional skills wither. These children often face difficulties making friends, showing patience, or dealing with the smallest failures. Everything in real life seems to move too slowly and tediously compared to the speed of light on the internet. The stark contrast between the two worlds deepens their insecurity and irritability when away from the screen. To truly understand the root of the problem, we must set aside dry, academic, scientific theories. It is highly time to look much deeper into the beating heart of the child to find the real answer. Hidden deep beneath the facade of a digital addiction lies a burning, desperate desire for genuine connection. That glowing screen is actually just a temporary painkiller for a massive, echoing emotional void inside them. Young children simply lack the proper vocabulary to express that they are feeling incredibly lonely and lost. Even when living in a house entirely full of people, profound loneliness can easily creep into a child's soul. The child sees their parents sitting right there, but the adults' minds are drifting somewhere very far away. You are sitting right next to your child, yet your eyes are firmly glued to your own sparkling personal screen. Heavy sighs of exhaustion after a long workday create a cold, invisible barrier between the two generations. The child senses that emotional distance very clearly, and their instinct urges them to find an immediate substitute. And the smartphone, unintentionally, becomes the safest, most reliable refuge for those lost, fragile little souls. We frequently scold our children for being glued to screens, forgetting that children learn through imitation. Try bravely looking back at our own reflection, safely stored deep in the observant eyes of our children. The very first image a child sees upon waking is often their parents hastily scrolling through social media. During cozy family dinners, the phone's light frequently illuminates each member's face instead of warm smiles. You nod half-heartedly to your child's innocent questions while rushing to type out a reply to a work email. Children are incredibly master observers. They quickly realize exactly what is stealing their parents' precious attention. They implicitly understand that the rectangular box is somehow far more important than their unfinished little stories. To win back the attention they lost, the child begins to mimic the exact behaviors they observe every day. If parents find their intense joy inside the screen, then perhaps that is where true happiness actually resides. A child's addiction is sometimes just the most honest, heartbreaking mirror reflecting the adult's deep disconnection. When a child screams and begs for an electronic device, it is actually a deeply encoded, urgent cry for help. That heartbreaking cry rings out primarily to mask the growing insecurity and anxiety expanding inside their chest. The child uses the most extreme methods possible just to force their parents to stop everything and look at them. To a child, It is much better to be scolded for demanding a phone than to be forgotten in terrifying silence. Your anger, even though it carries negative energy, is still a form of real interaction they desperately crave. Children intensely hunger for focused eye contact, a full presence unshared with absolutely anything else. That cold, lifeless block of metal can never, ever replace the comforting, steady warmth of a mother's hand. Pre-programmed, lifeless electronic sounds are never as gentle and soothing as a father's deep, familiar voice. But when the real, tangible things are absent, the child is forced to blindly accept artificial, empty substitutes. The stubborn attachment to the screen grows in perfect direct proportion to the deepening void in their soul. Children would rather choose to befriend illusory cartoon characters than face the cold indifference of adults. Clinging to the iPad is the only survival mechanism for their fragile souls to overcome the starvation of love. Every minute left neglected in front of a screen is an invisible knife cutting the sacred bond between parent and child. Technology itself was not born to destroy childhood. It is exactly how we let go that creates the root problem. Blaming the digital age is just a perfect excuse to cover up our own negligence in active parenting. It is time we face this harsh reality, to truly begin a deep, fundamental healing journey from the roots. The first step to rescuing your child from screen addiction is to step into their world with an empathetic heart. Instead of getting angry at the loud tantrums, try hard to see the hidden, frustrated pain behind those tears. Bravely ask yourself, when was the very last time you were truly and completely present with your child, unburdened? Honestly, acknowledging our mistakes is the hardest step, but also the most decisive one in healing relationships. You hold the extraordinary power to completely change a child's developmental trajectory with small behavioral shifts. The complex process of screen detox for a child cannot and should not begin with extreme authoritarian prohibitions. Suddenly and violently confiscating the phone only creates deeper psychological trauma and fierce resistance. The ultimate golden key to change lies in filling the massive emotional void with genuine, real human connections. You cannot ruthlessly take away the only thing bringing joy to a child without providing a much better alternative. And the most wonderful, magical, and invaluable alternative in this entire world is simply you, yourself. Establish absolutely sacred periods of time during the day, completely free from the presence of any technology. A warm dinner where everyone truly looks deep into each other's eyes and shares the mundane, small, daily joys. One quiet hour before bedtime filled only with paper-scented books and a mother's gentle, soothing reading voice. True connection absolutely does not require you to sacrifice all 24 hours a day to be with your child. 15 minutes of the highest quality interaction has more healing value than a long day together where the mind is absent. Sit down exactly at eye level with your child, shrinking your giant, worried world to fit perfectly into theirs. Participate in the silliest imaginative games without any judgment or attempts to enforce strict adult rules. Your complete, silent presence is the most powerful message of love sent straight to the child's wounded heart. The feeling of absolute safety and being deeply cherished will gradually soothe the persistent tensions in their nerves. Never, ever underestimate the magical power of physical touch in this arduous and profound healing journey. A tight, loving hug from parental arms can instantly produce oxytocin, the wonderful hormone of love and bonding. Oxytocin is precisely the most perfect natural antidote for the toxic dopamine addiction caused by smart devices. Hold your child closely and tightly whenever they feel frustrated, angry, or restless because they want a screen. When the physical body is fully nourished with deep love, the mind leaves absolutely no empty room for addiction. Proactively take their hand and lead your child out of the narrow, stuffy walls of the room to immerse in vast nature. The brilliant, warm sunlight will quickly outshine the toxic, cold blue light emitting from those digital phones. Let them enjoy the feeling of touching the soft grass with bare little feet, feeling the cool breeze gently brushing. When all five senses are powerfully awakened by vivid reality, the virtual world on the screen becomes incredibly dull. The arduous journey of pulling a child out of the virtual swamp is not a magical miracle that happens overnight. There will certainly still be many tears, deafening screams, and exhausting moments when you just want to give up. But please, parents, be deeply patient, because hidden behind that fierce resistance is a child who desperately needs you. Every single time you bravely choose to put the phone down to hug your child, you directly reclaim a piece of their childhood. You are manually rewriting your child's entire psychological story, replacing cold loneliness with unconditional love. Ultimately, the most magical and precious gift you can proudly give your children is your full presence. Please wake up and take action today so your child's brilliant youth won't ever be locked away behind frozen screens.